Hi, Mark Power here again, your stuttering specialist. Many people ask me the question, uh, why do I stutter? What causes stuttering? Where does it come from? Just looking at stuttering, it really kind of seems that it's got something to do with nervousness or emotions, because you can see a person struggling to get words out when they stutter. So for many years, that's what people thought. They thought it was a psychological problem. And actually, they developed theories of why it was a psychological problem. And they blamed it on parents. And the way they did that was they said parents took a normal speaking preschool child as they were growing up. Normal preschoolers make some mistakes and errors when they're speaking. What some parents did was they called attention to these errors and mistakes and tried to correct them, and made it really hard for the child to speak. So the child developed stuttering. And that was the theory of the cause of stuttering all the way through the 1930s and 40s and 50s. As a matter of fact, when I went to my first speech therapy for stuttering from a stuttering specialist in another state, I was in high school, and that's what he told my mother. He told my mother that basically she was the cause of my stuttering. She probably didn't mean to do it, but she might have called attention to my speaking, and actually I developed a stutter because of that. There was no research to show this. They didn't have any experimental studies to demonstrate that it was a psychological cause. They just thought it up. It sounded like a good idea. As a result, many parents were damaged, like my mother, thinking all her whole life that she was the cause of this stuttering. So the good news is later on in the 60s and 70s, they did do some research about whether it was a psychological cause or something else. They really couldn't support a psychological cause by the research, but they did start doing some physiological studies, like brain studies. They subjected people who stuttered to EEGs and MRIs, and they found that the stutterers processed differently than the non-stutterers. As a matter of fact, they were using at different parts of their brain. So when stutterers spoke, they put them in an MRI, and they saw their right hemisphere light up because the blood flow was more active. Now, normal speakers, most of the population, use the left hemisphere to speak with. As a matter of fact, the speech and language areas are really only located in the left hemisphere of the brain. So when people who stutter are using the right hemisphere, they're really using the wrong hemisphere, and that can cause a lot of problems. So the right hemisphere has certain ways of processing, but mostly it deals with emotions, happiness, crying, and it really thinks in pictures perceptually. Whereas the left hemisphere is where the speech and language areas are located. That's where the analytic thinking happens, like putting things in sequence and planning things. And it's obvious that in order to speak effectively or put sentences and words together, you're going to need an analytic hemisphere that plans what you're going to say and puts it into the correct sequence of sounds. Well, the stutterers were using the hemisphere that was thinking in pictures. No wonder there was a problem. Also, when I've been working, this is just a personal observation. When people come to me who stutter, I've noticed that when they're stuttering, because they have learned to try to get past the stuttering or learn some tricks to change words around or react to their stuttering by doing different things, they really aren't able to plan what they want to say. I remember when I was young, I tried to plan a phrase, and I planned the phrase, but I tried to say it and I'd block or change the word around, and there went the plan down the drain. So what I'm finding, and this is just my opinion, that tell me if this is not makes sense to you. People who stutter actually from a very young age, in order to get around their blocks and not blow through, they learn not to plan. And they are always ready to jump around and change the word around or do something different. That's very different from normal speakers, because when they tried to say a phrase, they were able to say all the sounds and words fluently and say them smoothly without any effort. So they learn to plan what they're going to say because it comes out right. Whereas the stutterers, they get by with actually not planning what they want to say. Causes a lot of problems. So the other cause of stuttering that has been researched physiologically is the evidence we get from genetics. Now, we know that stuttering runs in families to a large extent. Not every child stutters whose parents have a stuttering problem. It's not anywhere near 100%, but it definitely is more prevalent than normal populations. So anybody who stutters and shakes their family tree will probably find an uncle or a grandparent who stuttered, and that's fairly common. I know I had a couple in my family. There was also another study that found some families in Pakistan where almost everybody stuttered. And they don't know why, but they studied these families and they actually located some genes that cause the stuttering. And they isolated that gene. So physiological causes of stuttering, that's some more evidence. So when you ask yourself what causes stuttering, you need to look beyond what you see in the behaviors of somebody who stutters and realize that it's a physiological problem. It's probably a physiological predisposition for a certain percent of the population, maybe 5% of the population, to have a stuttering problem. Usually begins about 2 or 3 years old. The rest of the population doesn't have that problem, and it'll come out sometime. So the remaining 20% of the preschoolers who are persistent in their stuttering will grow up to be adult stutterers, and they're the ones that need some treatment. So I hope this helps in understanding where stuttering comes from and what causes stuttering. Thanks a lot. Mark Power here, and if you like this video, then don't forget to like and subscribe for more helpful videos like this one. Also, be sure to hit the share button and leave us a comment below so that others can benefit from it as well. I'll be recording a lot more helpful videos like this one to help you overcome your stuttering. And if you'd like to be notified, then click on the bell icon below.